It's just business, nothing personal. Respect is earned, never given. In this world, you gotta have the power to make a difference. A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. Never let anyone know what you're thinking. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You come at the king, you best not miss. The streets are made of paper, and you need to be the ink. Blood makes you related, loyalty makes you family. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemy, but the silence of our friends. The true measure of a man is how he treats someone who can do him absolutely no good. A wise man can play the part of a clown, but a clown can't play the part of a wise man. There's no such thing as loyalty. It's all about who can give you the most benefit. Never underestimate the power of a woman in the mafia. When you have to kill a man, it costs nothing to be polite. It's not personal, it's strictly business. In this life, you can choose to be a victim or a gangster. In the mafia, you never know who you can trust. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. It's a sign of weakness. Fear is a powerful weapon, use it wisely. The mafia isn't a place for the weak-hearted. The most dangerous people are those who have nothing to lose. There's a price to pay for everything you gain in this life. We're not bad people. We just have a different way of doing things. There's no honor among thieves, but there is among the mafia. The mafia is like a brotherhood. Loyalty is everything. If you want to survive, you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. It's not about the money, it's about the respect. A real gangster knows when to talk and when to stay silent. The mafia is a way of life, not just a job. There's a code we live by, and breaking it comes at a cost. Once you're in the family, there's no way out. The mafia is a chess game. You gotta think 3 moves ahead. In the mafia, you never know who's watching. It's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. The mafia is a tight-knit community, and we protect our own. In this life, you're either at the table or on the menu. Never show weakness, it's a sign of vulnerability. A real gangster never reveals his true intentions. In the mafia, loyalty is rewarded and betrayal is punished. Don't let your guard down, there are snakes everywhere. In this life, you've gotta do what you've gotta do to survive. The mafia is a family business, and business comes first. In the mafia, power is everything. You don't choose the mafia chooses you. A real gangster doesn't follow the rules, he makes them. We don't forgive and forget, we forgive and remember. In the mafia, we take care of our own. You can't be afraid to get your hands dirty in this line of work. In the end, we're all just pawns in the game. A real gangster is always one step ahead of the competition. There's no such thing as retirement in the mafia. It's a lifetime commitment. In the mafia, loyalty is worth more than gold. The mafia is like a spider web. Once you're in, there's no escape. A real gangster knows how to play the long game. In the mafia, we live by a code of honor. In this life, you've got to take risks to reap the rewards. A real gangster doesn't need to boast. His actions speak for themselves. In the mafia, you never know who's a friend and who's a foe. In this world, you've got to be cunning to survive. A real gangster knows how to keep his enemies close. In the mafia, we don't ask for forgiveness. We take what we want. The mafia is like a game of chess. Every move counts. In this life, trust is a luxury we can't afford. A real gangster doesn't let emotions cloud his judgment. In the mafia, silence is our greatest weapon. In this life, you've got to be ready to make sacrifices. A real gangster doesn't fear death, he embraces it. In the mafia, respect is earned through actions, not words. In this world, you've got to do what it takes to survive. A real gangster knows when to strike and when to hold back. In the mafia, loyalty is everything, even if it means going against your own. In this life, there are no second chances. A real gangster doesn't back down from a challenge. In the mafia, we protect our own at all costs. In this world, you've got to trust your instincts. A real gangster knows the importance of keeping secrets. In the mafia, we don't show weakness. It's a sign of vulnerability. In this life, you've got to be willing to do the dirty work. A real gangster doesn't need validation from others. In the mafia, family is everything. In this world, you've got to be ruthless to get ahead. A real gangster knows when to walk away and when to stay and fight. In the mafia, we take care of our enemies in one way or another. In this life, you've got to learn to trust no one. A real gangster doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. In the mafia, silence is golden. In this world, you've got to be willing to make tough decisions. A real gangster knows how to keep his friends close and his enemies closer. In the mafia, loyalty is a rare commodity. In this life, you've got to be willing to take risks. A real gangster doesn't need a mask to hide his true self. In the mafia, fear is a weapon we use to our advantage. In this world, you've got to be prepared for anything. A real gangster knows how to play the game without getting caught. In the mafia, there's no such thing as a fair fight. In this life, you've got to be ready to defend what's yours. A real gangster doesn't back down from a challenge. In the mafia, respect is everything. In this world, you've got to be cunning to survive.